If you are Rwandan raised in Rwanda, you have heard a word ngo nta mugabo urira. I'm very, very grateful to have umugabo urira.
That's a crazy introduction. Yeah. Support is kind of funny because it doesn't necessarily have to come with understanding.
How is that journey look like of understanding?
It's okay to be there for someone even though you don't understand them.
Do you have a moment where you feel like you heard?
I remember the first discussion I had with my mom, and then she burst out laughing. My sister just looking at her horrified.
Hey everyone, welcome again to Saloon 3. As I always say, this is a platform of conversation, hence the name Saloon, by the way, because we want to bring in new conversations to you, not necessarily specific to anything, but more of conversation of growth, because I personally believe that people grow together when they're learning together. And the best class that people can be in is people, because everyone we meet in life has something to teach us. So that said, today we have a very special guest, as I always start. Welcome, Klein.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And that's such a beautiful thing, by the way. The school is people.
Yes,
that's
the best way people can learn.
Yes, thank you. My name's Malik and Klein. I'm a music producer. But you can introduce the conversation.
No, it's okay. So quite often we hear different topics, people talking about a few things, and it's very often that we hear about mental health. It's very often we hear things like anxiety and then so forth. But most importantly, if you are Rwandan raised in Rwanda, you have heard a word ngo nta mugabo urira, cyangwa se ngo amarira y'umugabo atemba ajya mu nda. So today, I'm very, very grateful to have umugabo urira.
That's a crazy introduction. Umugabo urira, trademark.
Someone who really accepted to share their mental health journey, a journey of healing, but can really openly talk to us about mental health issues. A disclaimer, we are not doctors, but it happens that we have one or two experience about mental health, and that's really what we want to share today.
Yes, we're not giving out mental advice.
Yes.
This is not professional advice. We are just two guys on a podcast.
Yes. Exactly. So before I start, I know you went to seek help.
Yes.
What broke you down, and what told you that it's time to seek help?
Ooh, what broke me down again? An intimidating first question. So yes, a little bit about myself. I'm 25 years old, and I had to. It feels weird being I had to go seek help, because whenever I go to the doctors, there are many people there. I'm not in any way special. This is just a chance to give a chance to give this conversation platform. So all I can do is share my little story. So I think when I was finishing up high school, and in my last year of high school, I started having panic attacks. All later, semi-misdiagnosed seizures. I was at school, and suddenly I was in boarding school, obviously. I suddenly started having heart palpitations. My heart would start beating very fast, it was very random. I could be talking with friends, I could be in class, but I would just feel this weird presence, and my heart would start beating, and then I would start hyperventilating, rocking back and forth. And that was very, like, it was very disruptive, is what the what the teachers and the préfet des études, préfet des disciplines, that's what they said. It was disruptive. So that was my first like dip into mental health care, because I couldn't go on in class, in like during classes and like study like everyone. I had to stop everything and then be like, yeah, you need to go to the doctor. Which then that was also kind of its own journey. Like one of the main things like I want people to like come out of this podcast thinking, it's like it's a journey. Like it's not like going to the doctor and they give you medicine and you go back, you take the medicine in a good way, and like everything will be okay by the end of the day. It is a journey of deconstruction. It's a journey of introspection, as like very low lows and very high highs. And that kind of also manifested itself into like me going back to get help when I was like 16 or 17. And I saw doctors. They were like, okay, you're just having panic attacks, it's okay. And which I feel like there's a little conversation around there. Like the official thing, when I asked doctors like, what's wrong with me? Like why am I having this? They were like, oh, you're in your last year of high school. It's very stressful. You're of course you're gonna have panic attacks. But no, I'm the only one having them. Why is everyone else okay, but I'm not okay? And they would be like, okay, well, people are different, and yes, and that's what I accepted. And when I said it was like a little conversation there, I do feel like if they were correct, because I'm still not sure what was going on back then, it's like we kind of put kids in such a pressure cooker. Like you're going to have exams that will define your whole life, and they have to accept that, and like I have to perform in such a way, which I think that's its own conversation. Like I feel like mental health, like the way you deal with your mental health when you're an adult, it starts when you're a kid. If you feel like the world is on your shoulders, like if I lose this exam, it's like I'm done. There's nothing above this. And like that's obviously going to mess with your mental health. So, but yeah, I was at school, then I wasn't. So I go to see a doctor. I went to see doctors, many doctors, and I had to do a little bit of therapy. And maybe it was the medicine working, maybe it was all the prayers that my mom did. I was very lucky that like with about 5 months, like I stopped having those panic attacks, and I went back to school. And that was like my first official dip into mental health care.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we will talk about doctors and medicines. But before I get there, I want you to, if you can, please share a little bit of experience on the support you received from your family, because the challenge of mental health is it's very stigmatized. One, parents sees it. Sometimes they decide to ignore it, or sometimes they support you. They don't want to take you to hospitals because they will feel ashamed. There's a lot of stigma that we get in the mental health area, especially that start from home. So it sounds like you had a different story. And what is that story, and then how that really helped you, so that if there is any other parent that would listen to this, they're able to pick one or two things?
Yeah, I would say it's like, I don't want to say it's a mixed bag, because I don't know how that reflects on my family, but like being realistic, it was kind of a mixed bag, because a little bit of background, ever since 1994, my dad was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And it's an illness that's very hard to describe. It's like an illness that kind of shakes you to your core, to who you are. And through that, like back in 1994 and above that, my dad, he had the chance of going outside the country, like in 1994, when the genocide was really was really ramping up, and he was lucky enough to flee the country, and he went to Germany. And I it's a bit sad because I can't ask him now, but you can imagine a black man in Germany in 1994. He had to go to asylums. He had to, like, that's I feel like that's like, if we're talking about family, that's kind of where it all started. But he was eventually able to come back to himself and come back to the country and continue seeking help here. Even like as the country was rebuilding itself, he was rebuilding himself. And it's kind of in those tracks that I was also able to tread on, because if I tell to my schizophrenic dad that, hey, I think I'm mentally ill, he's going to listen it to, like, I don't have to explain it. He's been through it. And that kind of shaped the reaction, because the kind of problem that I had when I was like young, like 16 or 17. I'm sorry to keep keep saying that, but it's like it was very visible. Sometimes like mental illnesses, like mental health diagnoses, like anxiety, depression, they have the disadvantage of being almost invisible. Like, you can live your whole life with depression and you just think like, that's who I am. Oh, I'm just not interested in many things. I'm just not motivated to do anything. And there are like those kind of illnesses that are kind of invisible, and there's kind of the illnesses that I had that were very visible. And like when I had to go to the doctor, like I was kind of explaining, I kind of explained it to my parents and was like, this is happening to me. Let's try to fix this. And I was very lucky because they knew doctors, because my dad had kind of, been there already. So I was able to tread back. And like in that way, I can say they were very like supportive. And like support is kind of funny because it doesn't necessarily have to come with understanding. A person can be supportive, but they have no idea, like they don't know how to tread lightly. Like it really felt like when I was home, like in that period of time, it felt like everybody was like walking on eggshells, and they don't know how to treat me, because I feel like this is gonna come up in the conversation later, but like mu Kinyarwanda, we don't really have words to describe like every mental illness. Like if you're going to the doctor and someone is like, if you're going to see a psychologist, and then when wasaze, like it's hard. Like it's hard to counter that in like the very little language we have to help ourselves. But like, yes, my parents, my family, because I remember I had to stay with I had to stay with other family members at the time, because sometimes bills get expensive, and like I had to see a lot of doctors. Like I remember the feeling of support, like from family. They were there. I also remember a lot of praying, like like it's kind of it's like I was gonna say it's kind of in our culture, but I feel like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you see a problem and you can't define it and you can't say, people can like their first instinct is to pray for you.
Yeah.
So support and many prayers is what I remember having to.
So
Yeah.
you are defining support and understanding.
Mm.
And you felt a lot of support. You didn't see much of understanding at the beginning, so it was a journey, right?
Yeah.
So how is that journey look like of understanding? Or if a sibling or a parent or a friend is listening to this and has someone who is having the same situation as you're having, how do you want them to understand? What is the journey you'd want them to take to move from support to understand?
Well, like the first thing that I would say is, I think in a practical way.
Yeah.
In a practical way, like being there for someone who is struggling, it's like, I don't want to say it's obvious that people like are struggling, but when someone opens up to you, you don't necessarily have to like relate that to a moment in your life. You don't, like, if someone says, "Oh, I'm depressed," it's not necessary. Like, it's not necessary for you to be like, "Oh, I know, I was depressed once," or, it's not necessary to relate. It's necessary though to be there for them. You know, it's like, it's before defining what understanding versus showing up, what it means. Before doing that, it's like, it's okay. It's okay to help someone even though you don't understand their struggles. Like, it's okay to be there for your friend even though you can't really relate to what anxiety or depression feels like, or, you know, the myriad of other mental illnesses that exist. It's okay to be there for someone even though you don't understand them. And but also, if you do want to make that extra step of being like, I want to be there for my friend, for my family, and I have, like, in order to better help them, I have to understand them. I would say the first source is obviously the person in question. You know, it's if someone is opening up to you about their mental health struggles, like, have a keen ear, like, ask questions. Like, it's okay. Like, it's, if it comes from a genuine place, even if questions can sometimes be triggering, you know, like, it's like if you ask someone with PTSD and be like, "Oh, you know, why are you traumatized?" Like, that's a heavy question that will probably not be answered in that discussion.
Yeah.
Like, if you're there for them and you stick around, you will eventually understand. That would be my first thing, like the person in question. It's a weird balancing thing where we don't want to put the burden of explanation on the person who is already struggling, but I would say contact, like, with time, that will go the extra way.
Yeah.
And a second source would be doing your own research. We all have Google. We all have, and I like we all have people who are well read and who have studied this, who are out there having these conversations. And so if you're still keen to help anyone in your life and you want to understand them, I would say after being there for them, you can. And this had actually happened like many times in my journey where a doctor is like, "Hey, if you're struggling with this, let me talk to your parent. Let me talk to your sister if you feel like you can't really put it into words, like your experience into words." And like that's also something that's also very possible. Like, talk to the doctor, watch mental health talks, and yeah, be there for your friend. It's a journey getting there. You're not going to
Yeah.
watch one video and suddenly understand what it means. You're not going
Yeah.
to have one conversation and suddenly understand what it means.
Yeah.
But it's like upon each step you're
Mm.
going to walk, you're eventually you're gonna find yourself there.
Do you have a moment where like you feel like you're heard? Can you share with us?
Heard?
Yes, or understood.
Okay, this is okay. I remember. I think was it in the pandemic. I was watching this comedy special. I think the name of the comedian is Taylor Tomlinson, and I remember she was talking about how she grew up in her home, and then she started being like, oh, and I go to the psychologist too. These are the medication that I take. And then she started listing medication that she takes, and I was, oh, I'm taking that too. I'm taking that too.
Yeah.
And like, it's a very like silly thing. Like it's in a silly way, but like I remember just being like, oh, right, other people take this medication too. Like I don't know why it surprised me that much, but I was like, oh, like other people are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And like even like if like like an off-way joke in a comedy special makes you think, oh my God, I'm not doing this alone, that like it's even better if it comes from real life.
Yeah. So okay, so because that really means a lot, Klein. In a lot of science, it's always great to feel heard or understood, in different forms, either in real life, or experiment. But what I'm hearing from you is it was great for you to see that other people are going through same situation.
Yeah.
And I am sure you're very grateful for your family and friends that have been there. But what is a bit sad in general, not just on you, is that quite often you get this feeling from outsiders, right? Like from TV shows, comedy, or YouTube shows, etc.
Yeah.
And the very fast support that people usually need, you need it from the people next to you.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They don't have to be taking the same medicines, but you need them to kind of give you the feelings that they understand. They understand why you're taking it. They understand every single medicine, and then so forth. So understand a little bit of the background.
Yeah.
And then I think let's call lucky that at least you've been able to, you've been lucky to get medical support.
Yeah.
Psychologists, psychiatrists.
Yeah.
Then both mental and medical support. So would you please share with us that journey, how it started, from literally speaking to someone to actually being diagnosed medically?
That sounds like exactly why I'm here.
Yeah.
Because that was not easy. Like it's like it was interesting because even in this discussion,
Yeah.
you assume that getting people to understand what you're going through, you assume that that's hard. But like for me, that was not the hardest part. The hardest part was getting to the healthcare, like material support. Like I was gonna say I don't want to bash, but I honestly I will honestly talk about my experience. If it reflects negatively on some people, I'm not sure I care. Like I remember because my family we use Mutuelle, and getting to see a licensed therapist, like a person who went to university, who has a doctorate degree, getting to see a psychologist, you would be very surprised at how hard that is. Like, um, this is something that me and my friends, we always joke about, and we're always like, yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. Like, it's um, giving a little bit of context from my own personal background. It's like after I was after my panic attacks stopped. Like I had to go back to the doctor like a few years later because I was I was clinically depressed. Like every every symptom under the sun, you could see it on my face that I was very depressed. And it is kind of crazy the burden that we kind of unknowingly put on people to be like, yes, this your illness doesn't really allow you to even leave your home. It doesn't allow you to care for yourself. It doesn't allow you to even care like even like caring about yourself, both in a superficial sense and on like an intrinsic sense. Like sometimes when depression is in its worst phases, you don't think you deserve to live. You don't think you are worth it. And it's kind of crazy to look at a person like that and be like, oh, yes, you have mituel. Now here's a 12-step thing you have to do for you to finally see a doctor. That is insane. Like I would literally talk about like I had to form a little group with my friends to be like, we can't do this alone. We're going to go together. I'm going to go with my two friends, my one friend, and you have to go first. Chigondra Buzima. Is that correct? Chigondra Buzima, yes. I'm sorry. Chigondra Buzima, Shaffy, and you have to talk to a mental health, not like a psychologist, but a mental health expert. You have to talk to them, and if they deem that you're worthy to like seek healthcare other, then they will give you a transfer to go to another facility. And because like most of the time, because again my father went through the same thing, like I knew the doctors that I wanted. I knew that I want to go to Cares Ndera to meet this doctor, but the steps of the way is I have to start looking for transfers. The first transfer to the district hospital, I have to talk to a specialist, and then I have to talk to a generalist, and then they give me the transfer to their like internal mental health care special doctor. And then if I still insist, then I go to that person, and then I have to get another transfer to finally arrive where I want. So it's kind of ridiculous.
That's a sickening
yes
situation.
Exactly.
You get more sick.
Exactly. That's like, it's insane that you see someone like, oh, you don't care about your life. You're on the verge of trigger warning. You're on the verge of suicide.
Yeah.
And then they be like, oh yeah, Yakinga, let me write you a paper. You're gonna have to go here, and then 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 you're gonna finally see the doctor that you want.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a process, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me not cut you off a little bit. That like obviously is a product of like public health care, like because there are not many specialists, because there are not many psychologists, they have to be where they're needed the most. So I understand the shortage of people and the shortage of talent and the shortage of, of like healthcare, why it's so long to get there. But to anyone who watches this podcast who has any kind of sway in that field, I'm just I would invite them to think about the process, because I understand many people need healthcare, many people need this. I understand.
Yeah.
But think about the person you're trying to help.
Yeah.
Tailor that experience to the person who's the most vulnerable. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the process, which is quite tedious, not accessible, not available, and so many other things. So now when you go through that process, depressed, almost
Yeah.
dying, you see a doctor and they tell you that for you to survive, you need to go on certain medications. The ones you have to take on a weekly basis, on daily basis. You have to go to do regular checks to the hospitals, etc. And then the finance are part of that. How does one deal with medication in this type of situation? And what support did you feel like you needed in that process?
That's ironically enough, again, a very hard question because the nature of mental illnesses, there is no like one size fits all.
Yeah.
You are going to have to go on a journey. It's not that there's literally no other way. You're going to be put on medication, and then they're going to test it, and like maybe in 4 or 5 months, when there's like no change, then they're going to change the medication, and then you're going to go on that. And if there's no change, then they're going to change the medication after that. That's like, I'm not even being dramatic. That's literally what I had to go through for like almost 2 years. 'Cause again, putting this in context, you are a person who is struggling to do the very basic things in life. It's very hard to tell someone who doesn't have the will to live and then be like, you have to come back here every 2 weeks. And again, it's not guaranteed that this medication is going to help you.
Yeah.
It's not guaranteed. You just have to come here, and like it's going to be trial and error. We're just going to have to keep giving you things until it works. And like as of far, that's not really like a problem of that. I don't think that's a problem that we can easily solve, or like from what I've read.
Yeah.
And like the hard part after, like it's the one of the few things that we can even do before that is like, if you're lucky and you find a medication that works for you and you go on it for a certain length of time, and you're finally like able to get a bit better. It's it's understandable. People have very real fears of I'm going through therapy, I'm going through medication, and now I'm afraid that if I don't, if for any reason, which by the way we're gonna get to later, is like it can be surprisingly frequent, if by any reason I don't find medication, then I'm very worried about my health. Like, am I dependent on this medication forever? And I feel like that's one of that's an aspect of the conversation that I don't see pointed to a lot. It's like, it's hard even for doctors who, like, I'm sorry to say I've seen many, but for them to ease your fears, to be like, no, it's okay to take medication. There's like, it takes time for you to understand that, and it takes time for them to tell you that. That's like, it's okay to be on medication, even though this is a long process, but unfortunately, that is the best one we have.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the best one we have. And it's like, okay, like it's okay to just keep on the medication. It's okay to listen to your doctor, even though it's very long. Don't be afraid that you're going to be dependent, because we're trying to like make you survive. It's like, if you're worried about being dependent on a medication or like addicted to the medication, like the priority is for you to survive. It's like, I remember the doctor telling that to me, and I was so taken aback. It's like, don't worry, like, this is for you to survive. Like, we're giving you more time. The more you live on, the more you learn how to cope better. Or so don't be afraid to take medication, because that is literally a health line, a lifeline.
I mean, I think it's actually a really, really angle to look at things, because quite often with mental health, especially when you start getting into medical mental health, the worries become about addiction.
Yeah.
They worries become about side effect. And people forget that that's a next step, right? So
Exactly.
the first step is I'm dying.
Yes.
I need to survive tomorrow.
Yes.
And then tomorrow something else needs to come. So I guess what I'm pulling out there is it's really important for people to understand that with mental health, journey is just step by step, and you need to solve problems as they come.
Exactly.
There will be so many problems, but these problems will have to be sorted, not at the same time. So if you can't eat, you need to eat before you go to the toilet.
Exactly.
Then once you're at the toilet, and then we deal with the situation of the toilet.
Exactly.
So I will come back to the medical part again. But in that process, you are seeking for help. You are home alone. You go to see doctors. What support did you have, or what support you wish you could have had more?
Could have had. Yeah. I like. I think I'll start there. That by telling a little bit of a story.
Yeah.
I remember when when I finally made the decision to be like, university can wait. I just need to survive. Like, I feel like I am an empty husk of a human. I'm not sure I even care to live. So everything can be put on pause. But like everything can be put on pause. Let me first try to survive. And I remember the first discussion I had with like my mom. God bless her heart. She loves us very much. And like it was, but like I think it's very indicative of the way people think. Like I remember sitting in the living room with my mom and my sister, and like finally like drumming up the courage to tell my mom, like, I can't, like I have to go to the doctor. Why? I'm depressed. And then she burst out laughing. She like it's like, again, bless her heart, but she just burst out laughing. And I remember my sister just looking at her horrified and being like, why are you laughing? This is very serious. But like that reaction and the time that came after that of like, oh, she just didn't, like, at first she didn't understand. At first she thought it was like, why are you depressed? Like, you have a home, you eat like 3 times a day. What is this depression you're talking about? Exactement. Wabuziki umeze neza dore nagukora urananutse gatoya ariko umeze neza. It's like, and like that was her first reaction. But like after, like I kind of had to harden my heart a little bit, to be like, no, because like there is a weird thing about mental health. It's like you kind of also have to convince yourself, because sometimes society will be like, oh, ufite ibibazo, just go through it. Byuka ukore, like just go through it, motivation, grind hard. And you sometimes just think, oh, I'm just lazy, or I'm just not okay, or whatever. You have to convince yourself, like, to remember what to seek. But like, to come back to that, like, to my mother, she had that initial reaction, but like after having a conversation, she had a very human response. She was like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, after I tried my best to, to answer what, to like explain to her what depression is, what anxiety is, It's like when I go to in the classroom, I feel like my heart is beating, like it's almost gonna come out of my chest. Like I'm genuinely worried that I'm gonna have a heart attack because of how fast and hard my heart is beating. I'm having heart palpitations every time I think of doing anything. And I like genuinely, I have a hard time even coming up to get food, like from my room to get food. I literally feel like I can't. So when I explained that to her, in like, like it had to be a little bit vivid. It had to be a little bit not like sanitized, because I had to tell her the truth. She understood. Like it's okay if it's okay if the people in your life don't understand, and they hit you with what was ichi. It's okay. It's like that's okay. If you're lucky enough that no one is in your home is mentally ill and they're all okay, and you're lucky enough about that, that like you that in that first reaction, like that's very human of it. Like
Yeah.
it's very human. And coming up after that, there was a lot of support because
Yeah.
there was understanding after that. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm hearing two things, and then I'm gonna add the third one. So what I'm hearing first is that if you feel that you're not okay, it's okay to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
In as much as it's really uncomfortable, you need the courage.
Yeah.
And the second one is people around you to actually be able to listen to you and understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because Wabuzichi is not really defined on the food you have, the life you live, etc. It's all other life situations and challenge. And the third one, actually, I want to add on is people should be able to listen and see and then find signs so that they can also come to and say, we think you are not okay. Because in your situation, you're really, really brave to come forward, but some other people are not able to come forward. So they need people to spot signs. And then hopefully one day I will have a doctor or a specialist here to talk to us about those signs that people should be spotting, and then how they can come forward. But really what's most important now is that if you are brave, communicate your feelings. And if you are not the one with the issue, if someone is talking to you, be able to go to them and listen to them. And then third is really spot the sign as well, and then go to help people. So you've been in that process, and you've gotten a lot of support, both mental, medical, and then none of them is helping, as you said. Sometimes with mental health, it's about experiment. But you get one specific thing that seems to be saving your life. And then that's where I want to go to. It's ketamine therapy. It's a very new, it's new, really, really new in the world. It's very, very new in Rwanda. I think the last time I checked, only 25 of 30 people have had ketamine therapy in Rwanda. Again, disclaimer, we are not doctors.
It's not medical advice, please.
This is not medical advice at all. It's experience sharing. Can you please tell us a little bit of your journey with ketamine therapy? First of all, how did you get to ketamine therapy? Where is ketamine therapy? And how is ketamine therapy helping?
Oh, finally, right? We're there, finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so about the journey that led me there, and like again, after stopping school, after being like, I need to first take care of myself, like I just couldn't move on in life. I was stuck, and like that being stuck, and before going to ketamine therapy, that took about like 2 years of going like from hospital to hospital, like psychiatrist to psychologist, like being prescribed new medication, seeing what didn't work in most cases, what it didn't work. But I remember I had this experience when my then therapist they they were like, "Oh, I think we're done." And this I'm not sure how much weight, because I don't want to discredit doctors, but that was a very negative experience for me where I was still struggling, but the doctor decided that I was done. And I thought, like, I was so dumbfounded. I tried all my best and being like, no, like, I still, like, I'm still struggling with this and this and this and this. And they're like, no, you seem okay. You can just continue the medication. You seem okay. Which, like, not medical advice, but that's crazy. I'm sorry to say, that's that's intense. That was intense. So I had to switch therapists, and a friend of mine recommended Dr. Cindy, and she was my therapist for like 2-3 months when I was telling her about my journey, and I was like, this is where it started, this is where it's going. And she was like, oh, so you've been in treatment, but most of the medication doesn't work on you, and you have a lot of anxiety, and you have lazy. And the specific phrase that she used was treatment-resistant depression. And she was like, you sound like a perfect person for this new thing that we're starting, which is ketamine therapy. And like it was hard to describe. It's hard to describe. Like, ketamine therapy is very hard to describe. But I remember being very, very skeptical and being like a little bit cynical, because here I am, I've gone from so many doctors, and there's, she comes and she says, oh, like, you just go and check in. This is gonna help you. And I was like, nah, I don't believe you. I'm sorry, but like, I legitimately have used up all my hope in these last 2 years. I'm not sure this is gonna help me in any way. I was very skeptical, but obviously she's a therapist, and she was like, this can be good for you. What do I have to do? So I was like, okay, cool, let's go. Take me. So I had to take a lot of like tests. I remember that was also something that was very hard, because some tests are like only available in fancy fancy hospitals. But I was able to mostly do things on my insurance. And then there was the first day. She had given me a lot of things to read about therapy, about ketamine therapy, about how to prepare for it. You have like the effects of the ketamine therapy, like on your brain. Like, it's a drug that increases like neuroplasticity. You are not medical advice, but I'm just saying things that I read. It helps your brain pick up things faster, like pick up new habits faster. And that was all like in the briefs that she gave me to read. I was still skeptical, and I remember arriving there the first day, and I was like, whoa, this is very nice. Like, that was my first thing, because like the way she described it, she was like, this is a new thing that I'm doing, that I'm bringing here, and I have a few doctors, we're helping people. And she made it sound very independent, and like I wasn't sure of like what I was getting myself into. But when I got there, the first striking thing is like, oh my God, this feels really nice. Like, there's art on the wall. There is the people who are helping you, which may be a story for another day. We can talk. Like, the people at the reception, they were very like so helpful, which is also another thing in mental health care. Like, sometimes they're not helpful, but story for another day. They were very helpful, and they're like, okay, cool, give us your paperwork, give us your ID, da 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 da. And then I went into the room, where the ketamine therapy is had. And there is, to like vividly describe it to anyone who's listening, it's like this room is like this well-decorated room. It has a big sofa. Imagine like I don't want to say the biggest sofa, but it was the biggest sofa that I've ever seen. Think of the biggest sofa you've ever seen. One seat, and it's like there. It's huge. And there's another chair for the therapist, and there's like a cool air like purifier thing, and like it was very nice. There is, like, I always say this, but there was like a lot of love and care that went into building that, and like you could see it right away. And there I was, being like, I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. And then she started explaining the procedure. So they take your first they have to monitor your vital signs, make sure you're not having any problem. They put some equipment on you to like check your heartbeat, your like your levels of I'm not sure what they measure, but yes. Then again, it's still intimidating. They're putting on this like big bracelet, and it's like I'm like, this is high tech. I'm not sure if I break this, I'm going to be able to repair. So, but the therapy is done via IV. Like they inject like an IV line, and slowly over the course of an hour, they inject the ketamine in you. And while they're injecting the ketamine in you, you're supposed to be asleep. Not really asleep, but you're just resting on that big sofa, and you have headphones on, you have a sleeping mask, and then you go to sleep, like it starts. And again, let me point to my skepticism. I was like, I'm not sure anything's gonna happen. But like in the first 15 minutes, I was crying. I was crying like a child. The first thing that I ever saw was like this image, like this almost like otherworldly dream where me and my sister, we were like hanging out with my dad, which I mentioned it like a bit earlier. He was a paranoid schizophrenic. He was not always like a pleasant person to be around. So this had never happened to me. I've never gone into town and like with my sister and my family, and like we're hanging out with our dad. And I had like strong feelings about it. Like I had strong feelings about my father, of like how he treated us, how he raised us. And like you can imagine, the first image is like this very humanizing thing where like I'm almost like peering into another world, and like this is what my life could have been if you had like a healthy, not mentally ill father. And like that simple image, it like it kind of broke me. Like I started crying for like that was like the first 15 minutes, and that was like followed by like 45 minutes of pure just crying under the mask. And it was very intense. Like I didn't expect it to be fast. I didn't expect it to like grab me that quick. And that was the ketamine. Now, the therapy that comes after the ketamine is like where you talk to your doctor about what you saw. And I talked to my doctor, and I was like, I described the images that I got, and I described how like those few moments kind of like I wouldn't say that I defined my life around my father, but he was definitely like a strong force in my life. And it helped me kind of shift like my relationship with him, where I was feeling like I don't want to say he was the villain in my life, but that was the role he played in my mind. And it kind of shifted. Like it was a very humanizing way of like, your father also struggled. Your father, like he has seen things that you have never tried to see. And it's like, it was these emotions of like relief, because I didn't feel like I needed to like, I don't want to say hate my father, but I didn't feel like I should. And that was the first day. So that was the first day. So in the matter of like the many sessions that we had, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my relationship with the people who are close in my life. And you said it, it's like a force that changed my life. Like there is a clear before and after the ketamine therapy.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
That was very long. I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's really
was
okay.
really
So maybe to wrap up on this one, so ketamine is not a one-day journey.
No.
It's different. You do different sessions. You do different journeys. What could you tell people to expect or think of when they're getting into the ketamine? Obviously, therapy is a whole different experience and it's personal experience. But from what you can share, compared to where you started and where you are now.
I mean, first of all, like you're very correct in saying like ketamine therapy and regular therapy are two very different things. But they do share a similarity. They're both a journey. It's like a thing that I feel like is more present in our generation, in my generation, where it feels like, if you're having trust issues with like your significant other, go to therapy. If you're a little bit sad, go to therapy. If you're a little bit, go to therapy. And it's become this thing where most people just think, oh, if I go to therapy, I'll just be better. I'm going to be a better person. But both the ketamine and regular therapy are a journey, sometimes an uncomfortable journey, some like very emotional journey. And again, it is like, I feel like it's going to be, many people in my life can give testament to that. There is a before and an after, like it kind of completely changed my life. Like I wouldn't imagine like a year ago where I'm like in front of like big lights and cameras and talking about like my mental health journey. Like I would not expect that. So like I feel like the most important thing I can remind anyone who is thinking of going to therapy is the change is not instant. There is a sometimes heavy kind of determination or like that has to come with it. Like if you don't see signs that you're getting better in the first few weeks, in the first few months, in the first few, I would say even years, like give yourself urgency. Don't do things because other people are doing them, but like give yourself urgency. Be confident in that things will eventually get better. Like that's a very stereotypical thing to say because a lot of people just look at you and you're depressed and they're like, things will get better. Like, yes, but as someone who was skeptical once and things got better, I can say things will get better.
Yeah. I mean, thank you very much, Klein. I think what you're saying here that is very practical is that mental health is a journey. And it's a different journey to everyone. So it could be short, it could be long. It's just a process that you need to embrace. The most important is you get to a point where you actually accept embracing it. And people around you to see it and then support you. And then also hopefully find the right treatment, because treatments are different. In Rwanda, we have a lot. We still have on the journey. We are still on the journey we are still on the journey to find more treatment and then make it more accessible, affordable. I believe we will get there.
Definitely.
And maybe to close on this, before I ask you your last word, to advise to people is, would you please I know people would want to reach out to you. So we're not gonna provide your number, but we'll provide definitely your social media handles, because I know a lot of people would want to hear more. But what is your last word?
It's I feel like everything I can think of is very stereotypical. You hear it like in every talk or conversation is like everything will get better, like just go on with it. I just not trying to be like too philosophical, but I would I would say people who are in this journey, who are going to start this journey, whether it's like ketamine therapy or regular therapy, like it really helped me when I noticed like the little things that changed, because even before ketamine therapy, I was going through like it was rough, but I could point out to things and I'm like, like today I woke up, I brushed my teeth, I took a shower, and I did a little bit of work. Like, celebrate it. Like, if you are on this journey, celebrate the little things.
Yeah.
Celebrate if you woke up and you felt like it was a fight to just go out of your room, be proud of that.
Yeah.
Because if you can do it today, you can do it tomorrow or after tomorrow.
Sure.
Be proud of yourself. Be human to yourself.
So last question.
Yeah.
This is a question I'm asking everyone. This is an online conversation, so it's gonna stay as long as it can be, and people keep watching it over and over.
Yeah.
What do you want people to hold you accountable for when they watch this in the next 5 years?
Okay, Lord, that's a hell of a question.
I know.
That's a hell of a question.
Oh.
Okay, well, okay. Have you ever experienced this? Like, have you ever like looked up to someone and like you look up to them and you feel like they're your idol and they do everything, but but one day they just do something completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like if I'm ever, like, it feels very narcissistic to say this, but like if I'm ever not a force of like trying to do good, if I'm ever if you're close to me and you feel like you want to hold me accountable about something, I will be all ears. Like, no one is infallible, and like I feel like, yes, in a few years, I'm pretty sure like I'm not a perfect human being, but like if I'm ever not a force trying to do good, not a force of like trying to bring people together, please hold me accountable. Remind me of who I was, and be very direct and intense about your criticism. I will appreciate that.
Okay. And you will be alive.
Yes.
Because you're in the journey.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you very much, Klein.
Thank you.
This has been amazing. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
You will come back, I'm telling you.
Hey.
And you can ask me all the questions.
Harass him. I have to come back, harass him, please.
Yes. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. This was amazing.
Yeah.